All right, everyone. I've been working on quite a few things, and I thought I'd update everyone on. I really got into fonts recently, and so I started creating a few utilities, and I ended up creating like a full font editor in a few different formats. So I'm just going to start with what you're seeing here is this is Quick Pascal, not Turbo Pascal or Free Pascal, but Quick Pascal, which was released by Microsoft. There's only one version, but it's fairly compatible, I'd say, to Turbo Pascal 5.5 around there. Um, Now, it didn't have many advantages over Turbo Pascal, but one thing it did have, which I thought was really good, was it had really nice fonts. And these fonts came in bitmap and also in vector format. So I'm going to run this little demo here, and we're going to see just how these fonts look like. And if you look carefully, you might notice something, but let's just find out. Um, so this first character, this first font, uh, if you know your fonts, this is not a Microsoft font. This is actually a Borland font, which was included with Turbo Pascal. These fonts are still compatible with Free Pascal. If you use the graph or PTC graph, you just need to copy them into the proper directory, and they will load up just fine. Uh, but they were never intended to work with Quick Pascal. And like you might be saying to yourself, well, what's happening here? And the truth is, like after spending some time studying FON and CHR files, I found out they were quite similar, and I was able to write an editor and basically convert. We'll go through that in a bit, but let me just go through the other fonts so you'll see how they look. So this was a standard font that came with Quick Pascal. I believe it was also distributed with the Quick C, Microsoft C compilers as well for their graph unit. And we're just seeing different sizes of the same font here. Now this terminal might look a little familiar. I believe this is from a recent Windows release. It might be Windows 98 or Windows 95. Um, But these FON files are still compatible with Windows 10 and Windows 11. They're bitmap format, but they still work. And you can copy these fonts if you want to use something like Quick Pascal. You can copy these fonts into the proper folder, and you can use them in your own programs. So this is what I've done. So this didn't come with Quick Pascal. I copied this from one of the uh, Windows OS releases. So, and these did come with the Roman, did come with Quick Pascal. This font I made myself just for testing, and this is also modern. It also came with Quick Pascal. Uh, I'm not sure about this one. I believe this might be a Borland one that I converted. I'm not quite sure. Anything that has four characters, it would indicate that it's a Borland font because of the size restriction. Borland fonts were limited to only four characters. I don't know what genius came up with that at Borland, but that's what we got stuck with. I believe Free Pascal can load um, fonts that are bigger than four characters. I don't think that's a limitation. They just don't load up in Turbo Pascal or um, Turbo C and any of the Borland languages that support the Borland graphics interface and the CHR fonts. Again, the this is also a bitmap font, another bitmap font, and what you notice about this one, this is a Comic Sans from your Windows, font directory. And yeah, I converted this so it works with, basically Quick Pascal, and it works just fine. I'll show you how I did that in a bit. I just want to go through this demo right here. Like I think we saw all the fonts. Now you may be saying like, why are you wasting your time creating like, utilities and fonts for an old programming language like Quick Pascal? Well, I used it only for testing. My main objective was actually to uh, bring the FON format, the bitmap, and the vector format to freepascal. So one of the things I haven't really liked about freepascal is the lack of support for better formats than the CHR fonts that you must copy, to freepascal. It doesn't even include them, or they don't even have their own versions. And when you do copy them, they're kind of ugly. They don't work very well with modern resolutions. So I've always been looking out for like different formats. I created a utility recently that supports BM fonts, but that's mostly for games. It's not a general purpose font format. And what I want to demonstrate now is the font library I created for FreePascal. So everything we were looking at before was done in Quick Pascal, but because I wrote this library, let's just run, its demo. Um, we can see that I have a lot of debugging information. I'll remove that eventually when I release the code. I hope to release a lot of this stuff before Christmas, but I'm working on a lot of stuff, so I'm not quite sure what will get done. Uh, if you're interested in something specific, leave it in the comments so I know what to focus on. Right now, I'm kind of focusing a little on everything, so nothing's getting done. Uh, but that's just the way I like to work. So let's view this font demo here. This is in Free Pascal, and we're loading Microsoft FON format fonts, bitmap, and vector format. So I'm just going to bring the window over here. This just gives us a little bit of information. So we're loading up the modern font, and you can see the copyright notice in 1985. So Microsoft created this font in 1985, or perhaps earlier. It was released in 1985. So who knows? Somebody may have been working on it earlier. And I'm just going to go through the demo here, and we can see, everything printed in various sizes. It tells us here that it is vector and the height, the default height and width, and we'll just go through this. Getting everything in like different colors, but like here's the complete set of fonts. Again, bigger, just to see how it looks. Right now, I'm gonna jump into Free Pascal so you can see a bit of the code here, and let me see. Okay, let's load up the actual unit or library part of this. So I call it WinFont. Um, I did have some help. I'm going to be honest. I didn't create this all on my own. I did have some help. This is I started using AI for a lot of things. So a lot of the code I've been playing around with different AI chatbots, and I think for me, I've settled one. I'm not gonna say the name. I don't want anybody just going straight to that one and thinking you could solve all their problems. It's best to like try different ones yourselves and figure things out. But the one I did end up using a lot of the time, actually was very good. It was like having a little partner in programming. Like things I got stuck on, I would just feed it error messages or pieces of code, and it would come back with suggestions and a lot of times fixes the things I didn't even suspect. And I ended up working pretty quickly. Anyway, I'm just going to scroll through this, and you can see, the various code. It's not something you'd like to be working on every day. But it breaks down the format into something much simpler that we can deal with. And if we switch back to demo, so it's around 858 lines. And if we look at the demo here, it doesn't really take much. We have a class, we initiate the class, and we go into graphics modes here, Visa, and I'll make sure that once I release the library, it actually works in all the modes, not just the high res modes like the 32K or 64K or the 24-bit mode. So it'll be really general purpose, just like you would use the Borland graphics interface and the CHR fonts. You'll be able to do pretty much the same. Maybe not initially, but I will cover a lot of the details. Um, so right here, it shows that we're loading the modern font, which is a vector format. I'm just going to change this to Kirby, which is a Courier bitmap font. The B at the end signifies bitmap. I'm going to save this. I'm just going to exit here and I'm going to compile it from the command line. And if we run the font demo again, we see some information here. It tells us the height and some, you know, some information that was useful for me for debugging and getting things to run. But again, this stuff will all be removed. Maybe I'll just comment it so you can see what I was doing if you're interested. Anyway, let's just run the demo, but this time with the Courier bitmap font. And you can clearly see it's a bitmap. You know, everything's more square or pixelated. Um, but I think Microsoft has actually done a better job than Borland with like the bitmaps and the vector fonts. So I think they look more professional, even though they're like, you know, from 1985. Borland, I think, released theirs later, like 87 and 89, and they still don't look as good. So I think they had a more talented team working on their fonts than Borland did. All right, so that's the code I've been working on. Now, while developing all this stuff, I needed to create some utilities, and uh, and they ended up turning out really well. I was able to figure out a lot of technical information. I'll get to those later, but what I want to get to now is the actual font editors that I created. And let's start with the most impressive one first. Uh, okay, let's go. Okay, all right. So this vector font editor not only supports Microsoft's FON format, FON, but it also supports Borland CHR format. So I was able to actually decipher both formats and create this font editor. Let me just open up and we'll bring in some fonts so you can see how they look. And let's pick the modern one. I think that one looks pretty good. So you can actually see how it looks. So once it's loaded, we can see all the fonts here. You can scroll through this list and you get a mini version, a mini icon of what the font looks like. And if you click on it, of course, you get to see all the vector points and everything. Um, and It's not quite the best font editor out there. For me, this was just mostly a hobby project, just to create something that works because I wanted something better than better than this. So this is Borland's DOS font editor, which I believe is the only font editor out there that supports the CHR format. Uh, and Trying to create or even edit the existing fonts in this is it's more than a challenge. It's just plain terrible. Um, but what I was able to do with this is I was able to use it as a debug tool. So I would create my fonts or create a small subset of fonts and test it out, see how they actually looked in Borland's font editor. And I discovered some crazy stuff. And even though there are some specs out there, I ended up finding a lot of information that wasn't in the specs. And I'll share that with everybody in the future. Maybe I'll make some notes and put some comments in the code. But uh, there was there was a lot of information that was just hard to figure out in terms of why they did that. And one of the things that I discovered, I'm going to share with you now, is let's load up one of the regular fonts here, and let's load up both fonts. And what you'll notice here, it doesn't matter what character we click on. Um, there's a final move up code that basically sets up the next character, next character to be printed. And this might seem like a silly idea. Why would you need to do that? But programs, not programs, but compilers like Turbo Pascal, they actually relied on this to print properly. So if we uh, if we actually run Turbo Pascal, I'm not going to do it now, but if if we run Turbo Pascal and try to load a font that doesn't have this little quirk here where it sets up the next character to be printed, all it gets is jumbled up. I'm not quite sure if Free Pascal has the same problem or not. It's one of the things I'm going to test in the future. But so this is one of the very weird things. So every character has this. It doesn't matter whether it's just any random character digit. Every character, and if that's not included, I created fonts without this bit of information. All your like printing gets messed up in Turbo Pascal because it relies on this little quirk. The other quirk, as I mentioned earlier, was that font names have to be 4 characters. And if you don't include that 4 character name, it doesn't work. If you can make your file name longer than 4 characters or shorter, it doesn't work. It has to be exactly 4 characters long. So that's just some of the nonsense that exists with CHR fonts. Now I'm going to switch back to my editor here, and we're going to see that I'm going to load up. I'm going to load up the same font. It's bold, I believe, and and we can see all sorts of information here. So one of the things you'll notice here is the like I was mentioning before, that final upcode to set up the next character. You can see it right here, and this is one of the things that I had to deal with because I created this editor that could load up both Microsoft fonts and not only load up the font, but edit it and save it. So I thought, well, what if I load up a Microsoft font and save it as a CHR font? And that's one of the first things I did, and I found out it didn't work because all these characters were overlapping. And I found out that, this little bit of, move code here, that's what's causing it to have problems. So I thought like, well, that's a big problem. Like I won't be able to convert. But then I thought like, and with the AI, we kind of chatted and like there was no issue adding, this to every character in the font. So I'm going to load up Microsoft font. Let's open up Modern again, and we can see that. Let's blow it up a bit. Let's choose a character. See, this character here, it doesn't have that the thing that Borland has, where you have a final upcode of move to the end of the character, basically. But I added this feature here, actually move to all characters. And once we do this, now these fonts become Borland compatible. We could just select File, Save, and switch to CHR format. And we can save this and also make sure we obey the four character file name. And also we have to name it here 4 characters as well. And I already did this. And I'm going to show you that it actually works. So let's go in here and load. And here it is right here. MODN. I've done this already, so I could save some time. And let's zoom out. Let's go to Window, zoom out. Let's change the origin here. This is all the silly stuff we have to do with this font editor. And we could see now it doesn't matter what character we click on. There's that final move command, and this will display properly in Turbo Pascal. Um, I'll go into depth more with each of these programs and utilities in the future. I'm just kind of going over the main stuff here. Okay, let's close this down. Let's see what else is on my list here. Um, Okay, so uh, I couldn't support the bitmap format in the vector font editor because it's not very similar at all in terms of code. So I thought I would just create another font editor, and let me just run that one. This is the FON bitmap editor, and I'm just going to minimize this so we don't mix things up. And it looks very similar, but we're just turning pixels on and off here basically to create the characters. Now, one of the best features I ended up implementing is because I know most people are not gonna create their own bitmap fonts. It's a lot of time consuming and like everybody has better things to do. But one of the neat features I added, and this is what you should just use this program mainly for. If you go to the tool menu here, you'll see that it says generate from system font. So we have literally thousands of true type fonts out there. Your Windows system comes with like plenty, and you could download so many off the internet. So there's a huge amount of true type fonts. Well, what if we convert these true type fonts to FON bitmap format? And this is just exactly what I did. So let's pick this one here. Let's go for 16 points and load it up. And there we go. And basically, we can save this font now in FON format, use it in Quick Pascal. We could use it in Free Pascal because I wrote that library that supports this now. And you could also use this in a number of other programs that use the older FON format. Windows still uses the FON format, so you can still use FON formats in Windows itself. You can right click and install, and they just appear like any other TrueType font. It's just not one of the things most people like these days because they don't have the additional features that TrueType fonts have. But for us, like using these for old retro apps and like DOS and that kind of thing, it's perfect because now we have unlimited fonts. So that's the great thing about this font editor. Now, the other thing I did, like I have a fully functional font editor now, and there's all these DOS, 8 by 8 fonts out there. They call these ROM fonts, and they come in under different names and all that. But they're basically just a font without a header. It's just bitmaps from 0 to 255. And I thought, well, let's support that as well. It's not a hard thing to do. So like, let's do this. So if we look here, yeah, let's just go into the folder I copied that font to. Here we go in here. And so this is it right here, this IBM EGA 8 by 8 font. So if we select that, we can see that it loads it just fine. And you know what we can do with this? We can save this as a FON font as well. And we could use this in Free Pascal also. So literally now we went from having Free Pascal that supported just ugly CHR fonts to supporting, FOM fonts. And now by being able to save these, bitmap fonts, we can support basically every DOS font out there. So I think that's pretty incredible. A lot of this stuff just came. I didn't plan it. I just started coding and one thing after another. Anyway, so this is the real visual interesting stuff. I hope to release all these programs, not just the binaries, but the full source. But it's going to take time. If you're interested in any of this stuff, just leave a comment. Tell me which stuff is more important to you. Because right now, like I said, I'm working a bit on everything, and it's going to take me a long time. I know this. But if you tell me, hey, I'm really interested in the FON CHR vector editor, like I could really use that. If I see more people using that, and more people are interested in that, I'll focus that on more, and hopefully we release a few of this stuff, before Christmas. Make it a real December, the whole make DOS programs in December thing. Anyway, so let me just go through the boring text applications now. Well, some of you might find it even more interesting. Anyway, let's minimize this and let me bring up where's. So when trying to figure out a format, I always write these small programs. Besides writing, let me just bring up, where is it here? Okay, so uh, one of the first things I start off with is a hex editor. If you don't have one of these, get one. They're really useful when you're trying to decipher a format you don't know about. This one's pretty good. Let me just show you what the name is and everything. Um, you may want to download it or find something you like. Anyway, so besides using hex editors and reading specs, I find that I have to write these little short programs that even pull out more information, and so that's what I've done. And I'm going to show you. Let me see. Okay, so here is. Let's minimize this one at the back. Okay, so when I was trying to figure out the CHR format, I wanted to make sure that I was reading things properly, and bit by bit, I ended up deciphering the whole format. Uh, there was a little bit of specs out there. There was the specs from Borland, and some people contributed, a bit of code and their own information, and that helped a lot when you don't have much to go on. So I really appreciate all those people that uh, left some information out there for me, made it a little easier, but it was still tough. Anyway, so I wrote this program. It's called CHR Info, and it will display all kinds of information from CHR files. And so let me just test it here. So if we do let me just pick a real font here. Let's choose bold. So it gives us all this information. So here's when this font was created. So Borland's ugly bold font, created after Microsoft, like in 80, 87, 88, and 89, um, and tells us, what version it is. There's never been any other versions as far as I know. It's been only one version. It's 1.0. Anyway, it tells you how many characters in, gives you the ascender, baseline, descender information. These don't mean much to you unless you're going to build up fonts, but I needed to make sure that I was writing the correct information. And so I wanted to see if I was able to do a lot more. So if we look here, um, we could even display the whole table. Let me go. Let's do that. So this shows us how many what the width of every character is. So there's the character, the ASCII equivalent, ASCII number, and the width, and where it is located in the file. So this is an offset basically. So we can jump to this location when we're seeking a file to find out the the strokes that make up this font. So let's look at a character now. So this is interesting. If we do this and select A, look at that. We get a textual representation of the stroked font in our text screen. Now this doesn't look impressive, but what it tells me is that my logic for decoding this actually works, and we got an actual character that we recognize. And we could also do sample here, and it shows it shows us just a few of the characters, and that was for my. This is a sample I created. So let's go to bold, and we can see that it prints all the characters. I know everything's just zooming by. We won't be able to see until it finishes, but there we go. So it tells us like all this information about each character. And let's see, I think there's just Oh yeah, the undefined. So if there's any characters that don't have any data, we can use the undefined. Undefined. Okay, so there's one, which is the um, question mark. So you'd think like that would be a critical character, but it looks like it's missing. It's missing from the bold. That's interesting. All right, so that's the one that it displays the information, but I wanted to see if I could build CHR files without actually building a full-scale font editor. And this is what I did. So I go into freepascal, just and we can see. Um, well, this is not where I want to go. Uh, okay, let's go. Yeah, this is not what I wanted. Okay, let me just jump into another command line interface and bring up what I need to do. No, same stuff. Okay, let me just see. Maybe I opened this stuff before. Okay, let's see if it's here. No. Okay. All right. I think I'm gonna find it this way. Well, if I didn't lose you before, I probably lost you at this point because I can't find things. But I'm not gonna pause or give up at this point. Okay, this is it. Okay. Okay, it's called CHR Create, and this is basically uh, a font creator that you can use in just code. I know that might sound strange, but yeah, you could build an entire. Uh, okay, let me just move this up to the other window and resize it. All right. So if we just scroll down a bit, we can see that we create a font class here, and we start setting properties. And so another weird thing about the Borland CHR format is that you see a couple of backspace characters right in the beginning. So when it writes the format, it writes PK, capital P and capital K. And I think that stands for Philip Connor, I think, who was the CEO at the time of Borland. And they might have put the initials after him. But then it's followed by two backspace characters, and so that deletes the PK. So if you were to do use the DOS command to type in the let's say bold.chr, you would see the description only. So after uh, after you write the description, you also put an end of file indicator, which I believe is ASCII 26 or Control Z or Z, I don't know. Um, And again, the for character only. I had to put it here for myself because I kept forgetting. Anyway, we set the again these properties you saw in the GUI version, the ascender, baseline, descender. Anyway, some initialization code. But here's where we start building the characters. So this is just a dummy character, doesn't mean anything. Let's go to letter M here. So what we do, you can see there, this is we're adding opcodes in command format. So after we initiate the class, okay, we're going to create this character, and it's for ASCII M, and it's going to be 10 pixels wide. Uh, that really doesn't matter, but that's the initial width. Because it's a vector font, we can scale it up. So we're going to be working with these dimensions basically. And so this is like, using a plotter. We're adding, okay, move to 0, 0. This is the origin. Okay, and then add a line from 0, 0 to 0, 8. And then add another line from 0, 8 to 5, 3. And this basically forms an M. And then, basically we uh, we add some additional information, and this is the end of the character, so it ends with a special opcode that tells it's the end, and basically this tells it we're done with this character. And so we could go on creating all these additional characters in this format. And so like once we reach the end, uh, basically we save to a file here. So this is where everything gets saved, and I showed you that sample file before. And that's basically how this program works. So this has been like key in me figuring out the format. Um, and let me see, I have. So in the same way that I created the CHR info, which displayed as info, I did the same thing for Microsoft's FON format. And this will both display bitmap and vector fonts as well. Um, so let's look here what the fonts we have, and I'm just going to demonstrate a couple of these. So let's do the Courier B. And so this is printing all the characters. Again, the same way as it did with the Borland CHR. But this is a bitmap one, and let's do modern, which is a vector format. So everything works pretty much the same way. Again, I'm also working on creating a FON create, which will allow me to create FON bitmaps and FON vector formats in this programmable way. I'm not sure if there's any use for this out there, but it's kind of fun for me. And since I did it for CHR, I thought I'd do it for Microsoft's FON format. And so I'm going to finish off here with, since I got interested in fonts, one of my programs that I released earlier, you could get it, it's open source, and uh, basically it's a sprite editor, map editor, all kinds of features. But one thing it was lacking was font support. So uh, that's after I learned enough about fonts, I ended up adding this into my program. I'm just going to load it up here so you can see it. Let me find it. I'm working off the other monitor, so you're not seeing me do anything, which looks a little boring, but let me just find it here. Okay, here it is. All right. So this is Raster Master, my sprite editor. I originally wrote a version of this back in the old days with DOS and Turbo Pascal. I've enhanced this a lot. So there's a number of things. There's a map editor, sprite sheet importing, exporting, font sheets, sprite animation, and even a sound generator. Um, but one thing was lacking was the text support or font support. And I was trying to figure a way that was easy, that would support this type of interface. And it took me a while, but I figured it out. So basically, we choose our font. We can choose. Let's choose this one, and yeah. And once we choose this text here, we can see like that's really easy. And we can change the colors. We can choose this color and uh, this color, and we can change the message. We can, instead of saying hi, we can say bye, and there it is. And we can do that, and then we could overlay it and do that. So I wanted a really easy method, and that's what I've done. Anyway, I think that's it for me. I've shown you everything I've done, all the recent stuff. I hope to release a lot of this stuff, but leave some comments. Tell me what you're most interested in, and thanks for watching.